Do you sit down, pee really quickly, and then notice a little dribble after you've already pulled up your pants? Or it could be that you pee and then 20 minutes later, you feel like you have to go again. What if I told you it might not be your bladder? It might simply be that you never actually fully relax enough to empty it. Today, we are talking about one of the most overlooked pelvic floor habits, how you pee. And yes, the way you sit on the toilet does actually matter. I am so glad you guys are here today. I hear this a lot. Women get busy. Moms especially are like speed peers. We rush because, kids need us. Maybe it's work. We're multitasking. It could be that you hate public bathrooms. You hover over toilets, or your brain is always on to the next thing. Here's the problem. Your pelvic floor has an important job. And one of those jobs is sphincter control. Those muscles, so your pelvic floor muscles, need to fully relax. And if they can't fully relax, then urine can't leave the bladder. So sometimes it's rushing. Sometimes the muscles, they're already holding tension. Either way, your bladder never completely releases. So signs that this might be you. So you might notice little dribbles after you stand up. So you feel damp in your underwear after you stand up. You need to pee again shortly after. Or you're feeling like, there's a little bit left. So I notice this sometimes. I'm guilty of it too. You rush your pee, you stand up, and then surprise, you're like, more pee comes out. But as soon as I slow down and actually relax on the toilet, more urine will more urine empties before I even stand up. So relaxation and taking your time is the key to fully releasing your bladder. So we're not going to rush anymore. After you listen to this episode, I'm going to give you some tips, but then you're not going to rush anymore. And trust me, you are going to notice a significant difference in your bladder and how you think of peeing moving forward. So I'm going to give you your tips. So tip number 1, slow down. Like we already talked about, slow down and sit properly. So instead of treating peeing like that other task that you have to do and race through, you need to give your body permission. So here's a couple things when you're sitting on the toilet. So we're going to start with some new toilet habits. So you're going to have your feet comfortably on the floor. You're going to have your legs pelvic width apart, and you're going to sit fully on the toilet. So try not to hover, just sit there, fully relax. Stay upright if you can, so try not to slouch or anything. Just making sure we want to relax and take our time. Your bladder isn't on a timer, but I understand that sometimes you are. So we really want to make sure that we are giving ourselves permission to sit there and let the bladder release, okay? Tip number 2. Okay, this is where we're getting into. And yes, I think I've said it in past episodes. I'll probably talk about breath in every single episode because it is so important. So your diaphragm and your pelvic floor work together. We know that if you're someone who's been listening to my podcast, you know that your diaphragm and your pelvic floor work together. And for those of you who are new, welcome. And I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown, but when you inhale, your diaphragm contracts down, and that then lengthens and relaxes the pelvic floor. So on your inhale is when we are relaxed, when we're relaxing the pelvic floor muscles. And then when you exhale, the diaphragm pulls up and then the pelvic floor lifts as well. So that's when you're in a contraction. Okay. So by inhaling and taking some nice deep breaths while sitting on the toilet, you'll notice that you're going to help those pelvic floor muscles relax. So you might think like, oh, when you're in a rush, what are we doing? When we're rushing, when we're thinking about the next thing, we're holding our breath, we're bracing, we're just like, okay, yeah, hurry up, like PPP, let's go. Okay, wipe, flush, wash, let's go on to the next thing, right? We're not actually taking time. We probably haven't even taken one deep breath that whole time that you're sitting on the toilet. So just take time. This will also help you slow down. This will also help with tip 1 because you'll be able to slow down. And I'm not saying you're going to be hanging out in the toilet for 20 minutes. We're just taking an extra minute or two. We are allowed to give ourselves an extra minute or two to slow down. So you're going to inhale through your nose and then a long exhale through the mouth. Doing that 3 times. Really making sure that you're using your diaphragm to breathe. So we want to inhale. That's when we're creating space. We're relaxing. Big inhale. And then a nice gentle exhale. Nice and slow. And I will tell you, I have worked with several women who have bad bathroom habits and they rush pee and they stand up and more pee comes out, or 10, 20 minutes later, they feel like they have to go again. And I give them these simple tips rather. And they say, oh my gosh, Crystal, I've tried it and more pee came out. More pee came out when I just relaxed. And that means you're doing great. That means that when more pee comes out, that means you've actually allowed your pelvic floor to relax and allowed it to do its job to release more pee. And a little side note on this too, it's not only bladder control that the pelvic floor, one of its important jobs, it's also with constipation. So with pooping. So if you're someone who is constipated, by breathing in and out, by actually learning how to relax those muscles by just letting go, and this takes time, instead of pushing and straining. So if you do have constipation, you might notice that you hold your breath, like push really, really hard. But if we just take time to breathe in and out and actually just relax, you might notice that on that inhale, the poop will naturally come out instead of that bracing and straining to get the poop out. So that's another thing that we can also use this if you're someone who's constipated. So it doesn't only work with the bladder, it also works with bowel as well. So your pelvic floor just needs that permission to relax, and that breathing is certainly going to help that. Tip number 3 is relax before you stand. So we're going to continue with relaxation. We're not going to immediately jump up. We're going to stay seated for another couple seconds just to make sure that we feel like everything has released. What you can also do is we can add in a gentle pelvic floor contraction and then also a relaxation. So this would be doing a Kegel. What you can envision is you're going to inhale to prepare, and you're going to imagine that there's a little blueberry at the bottom of your vagina. You're going to inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, you're just going to gently pick your blueberry up with your vagina. That's on your exhale. Then you're going to inhale to gently release the blueberry. And you can do this 1 or 2 times, but what we're doing here is we're just teaching the pelvic floor how to relax. And it's helpful to do a co-contraction. So what that means is that we're contracting. So we're doing a little pelvic floor lift, a little voluntary pelvic floor lift, and then we're just letting go. Okay. So sometimes it's easier to feel that release if you do a little lift first before you let go. So it's inhale to prepare. Just imagine that blueberry, you're relaxed. That blueberry is at the bottom of your pelvic floor, bottom of your vagina, rather. Let's say vagina is a better visual. As you exhale, you pick the blueberry up just a little bit, just a little tiny contraction, then you inhale to release. Okay, so we're not squeezing, we're not gripping, but just a little lift and release just helps to connect the brain to your pelvic floor muscles. It can allow the pelvic floor to even soften more. So I've also taught this to a lot of my pee rushers out there. And when they add in that small pelvic floor contraction, they notice more pee comes out. So now they're teaching the brain, okay, this is how we relax. One side note, you're doing this when you finish peeing. We're not doing this while urine is flowing, okay? Don't love that cue. I would prefer for you to actually finish peeing. This is just going to help you to relax more. And so the pelvic floor muscles can help relax to let more urine come out. So we don't stand up and then feel like, oh, I'm wet again, or I have to pee 20 minutes later. Okay. So we're learning how to let go. The takeaway today is your pelvic floor can't do its job if it never gets a chance to relax. And a lot of the times that's what we need as women, especially if we're always on the go and we're rushing. So if that's your personality to begin with and you're go on to the next thing, we're probably dealing with some hyperactivity, some tension in the pelvic floor muscles. So the toilet is a great place to learn how to actually relax those muscles. So your bathroom habits do matter. We want to slow down. We want to breathe. We want to give ourselves permission to actually finish. And we're just adding a minute or two onto your bathroom habits. You're allowed to do that. And these small changes will lead to big improvements. So it's that consistency by doing it every time you go in the toilet. And just, even if you just want to start with creating awareness to your bathroom habits, you don't have to implement any of these things yet, but you can say like, oh, you know what? I really do rush through my pee. And I do notice this happens quite often. So sometimes if we don't even realize we do it, then it's hard to change it. So start with this. After you listen, create awareness the next time you pee, and then you can start to implement your tips. So slowing down, breathing, actually taking some nice deep diaphragmatic breaths, adding in a small pelvic floor contraction and release just to teach those muscles how to relax. So if today's episode made you realize that you do rush through pee and you're going to take some time to really create more awareness around this, you're definitely not alone. I've worked with so many women who have this as a habit, and we're trying to break it so we can actually help those pelvic floor muscles relax and have better bathroom habits. So if you know a busy friend, a mom, a sister, a parent, a coworker, anyone, any woman in your life, really, send them this episode as a little gentle reminder to slow down when you pee. And don't forget to follow Potty Talk. A new episode comes out next Tuesday. Tiny tips for your pelvic floor. Thank you so much for listening. All right, take care.